Do not buy this coin, whatever you do.
The BRICS aims to foster trade through a new development bank, as it's called, and this could potentially upend the hegemony, the domination of the dollar, particularly if states like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, which provide the basis for the petrodollar, which is itself the foundation of dollar hegemony, if they join and begin trading in local currency. For example, Saudi Arabia is discussing trading or selling oil to China in renminbi, which would break the dominance of the petrodollar.
It's called the petrodollar, and it isn't a crypto, and it isn't exactly a dollar either. But it may be the most important currency agreement we have right now in the United States. And as the speaker in that clip confirmed, it is absolutely under attack from countries like Saudi Arabia and even the United Arab Emirates. And if it goes down, Bitcoin and crypto could be your only way out. Thankfully, there's a little hope for you because you're watching this video, which means you're actually at least a little bit informed, so you have an advantage. But let's look at what this means for the actual dollar, the one you got right now in your pocket. You don't carry cash. Today, I'm going to be telling you the truth of the complex financial war games going on behind the scenes between the US, Europe, and the rest of the world, including Russia and China. And at the end of this video, I'm going to hit you with not one, but two urgent updates that have occurred since I wrote this video a week ago. Things are developing quick. Let's get it. I'm not a financial advisor. Welcome to BitBoy Crypto. My name is Ben. I think you'll be shocked at the evil plans that our enemies have laid out before us in the crypto world and why it's terrible for America. But since you're armed with this information early enough, this is great news because you can now protect yourself, your family, and your money. You are going to watch all of this stuff play out in real time, and you have time to start making smart financial decisions if needed. This post on x.com by Vibi puts into perspective. Nuclear capabilities ensured that. Saudi joining BRICS, threatening petrodollar, the amount of wars now used to generate much needed funds, China taking over global trade, Russia trumping sanctions, now Iran directing drones at Israel are tests to see how the US and allies react. Now, if you love when I show you the real narratives going on behind the scenes to help your financial investments, then make sure to hit that like button. Today, we're going to show you how the petrodollar, an old OPEC currency agreement involving the dollar, is on its last legs and how you can stay on top of this narrative to make even more money during this bull run. So let's get into it. The petrodollar, as it is referred to, is not really a currency, but rather an agreement for the world to settle accounts for oil purchases in USD. This has been the acceptable rule since the 1970s. Countries went along with it initially because there was security at the time in settling the transactions in the strong value of the US dollar. So all petro transactions, even between two foreign nations, involve settlement in USD. The term gained currency status in the 1970s when soaring oil prices generated large trade and current account surpluses for oil exporting countries. Then, as now, oil sales and the resulting current account surpluses were denominated in dollars because the US dollar was and remains by far the most widely used currency. The US dollar's global popularity does not depend on the goodwill of oil exporters. It's based on the US's status as the world's largest economy and goods importer, with deep liquid capital markets backed by the rule of law as well as military power. Here's some key takeaways you need to get before we continue with this video. So I want you guys to watch this part of the video very slowly and take it all in.
So the reason this gathering is so historic is because BRICS is actually talking about expanding and has pledged to expand to some very significant countries, including Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. But of course, expansion can bring a lot of political complication. One thing noticed at a conference which mostly pertains to the nations of the global South is the presence of many Americans as well as British reporters from places like The Economist. What are they doing there? Well, they sort of represent the interests of the G7, which is often posited as the dominant sphere of economic sphere. And they're threatened by what's happening at BRICS because of the prospect of de-dollarization. And the dollar hegemony is the basis for US financial sanctions, which are administered unilaterally, not through the UN, to destroy the economies and the people of countries from Syria to Venezuela to Cuba to countries like Eritrea, which is kind of the Cuba of Africa and has resisted IMF loans. taken its own line. And what the US has done by actually sanctioning 1/3 of the world's population, think about that, is created a backlash where these countries are now gathering together and figuring out how they can conduct trade and break away from the dollar. And you've heard that expressed in the president's roundtable today that was held and convened by UN General Secretary Antonio Guterres about the unfairness of global relations with the dollar dominating all trade and their desire to break it. They're not hiding their agenda right now.
Petrodollars are simply US dollars received in exchange for oil exports. There is no petrodollar system. The reinvestment of oil export proceeds has sometimes been called petrodollar recycling. Is the petrodollar a currency? No. The petrodollar represents the valuation and trading of global oil reserves settling in USD. US dollars paid to an oil exporting country via an OPEC agreement. Petrodollars are the primary source of revenue for many OPEC members and other oil exporters. Oil exporters settle sales in US dollars because the dollar is the most widely used currency, making it easier for them to invest export proceeds. Since the 1970s, the US dollar has been used to settle oil sales because of its wide global acceptance. That acceptance had made it easier for oil exporters to invest the export proceeds. The BRICS re-dollarization efforts are disrupting this practice. Here's a story from June 26, 2014. Russia, China were already conducting gas deals in yuan or rubles even back then. Some crude exporters have suggested they may accept payment in other currencies. And if you didn't know, it's already happening. Individual countries are starting to settle in their native currencies all over the world. So the stage is set for BRICS Plus to destroy the petrodollar. So just how much is the petrodollar used? Tens of trillions of dollars per year generated through USD settled petrodollars. Global crude oil supply, approximately for 2024, its forecast is going to be 102.9 million barrels per day. Petrodollars are the primary source of revenue and wealth for many members of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, as well as non-OPEC oil and gas exporters, including Russia, Qatar, and Norway. Just as the petrodollar is not a currency, neither is it a global trading system. The wide use of the US dollar as payment for crude oil reflects the traditional preferences of non-US oil suppliers. Until now, as BRICS is emerging as an alternative at least. Oil exporters have preferred the US dollar because it was the preeminent global currency for global investments. That made it the most convenient store of value for accumulated oil revenue, which needs to earn a rate of return to be useful. But with BRICS, this is starting to change. An early example of petrodollar recycling is the 1974 deal between the US and Saudi Arabia to funnel Saudi petrodollars into US treasuries. We are in a new day, and Saudi Arabia is prioritizing its interests. And while there's a lot of money on the line, the US and Saudi Arabia, is this true, no longer energy allies. And this has everything to do with its ties to Russia. Subsequent deals deployed Saudi oil export proceeds to pay for US aid and development projects in Saudi Arabia and to finance US weapon sales in their kingdom. And a little history as to why Saudi Arabia is playing both sides regarding its decision to join BRICS. Well, the current Saudi Arabia and Lockheed Martin arms deal is an example. From 1974 to today, the United States and its corporations have made deals with Saudi Arabia based strictly on finance. While many Middle Eastern countries have played both sides with the United States and Russia, I don't think any of them have done it as well as Saudi Arabia. They even killed American journalist Jamal Khashoggi, and somehow we just gave him grace. The amount of money that's on the line between our two countries is obviously, according to both of our governments, more valuable than any citizen's life. Some people are catching on the axis of evasion behind China's oil trade with Iran and Russia. Beijing and Tehran have developed an oil trade system that bypasses Western banks and shipping services. End result? World reserve currency petrodollar suffers. The petrodollar certainly is in trouble. BRICS nations like Russia and China are de-dollarizing. They're moving away from dependence upon USD. And this is bad because the petrodollar is usually reinvested by many of the oil exporting countries. Many oil exporters now invest their petrodollars in stocks, bonds, and other financial instruments through sovereign wealth funds. Norway's sovereign wealth fund had assets of about $1.4 trillion at the end of 2021 with a 72% allocation to stocks. The fund held nearly 1.5% of the world's publicly listed shares in 2021. US dollars from crude exports until now could be easily invested worldwide, including multi-trillion euro-dollar market for short-term dollar-denominated deposits in European banks. That will be threatened by the BRICS' intended departure from US dollar dependency. Previously, crude export proceeds settled in Chinese currency could not be invested outside China as widely as USD and could only be invested inside China at the discretion of the Chinese government. With BRICS, however, Chinese capital markets have grown fast, and petrodollars recycled into investments overseas or development programs at home can produce positive financial and social returns. Results are decidedly less positive when petrodollars are spent on fortifying domestic oppression or when fueling an arms race or waging war abroad. So for BRICS to actually succeed here in destroying the petrodollar, they need to insert one alternative so all BRICS nations can work together. Is the BRICS payment system in sight? Well, we expect a big announcement in October about that. But yes, BRICS Pay, as it is called, is moving forward. But remember, oil exporters are free to accept payment in a currency of their choosing. An estimated 20% of global oil this year was bought and sold in other currencies as Russia and Iran sold cargo to China and other buyers. Some major emerging economies are dabbling in trading commodities without using the dollar right now, as they seek to reduce their reliance on the US currency. So here's the bottom line. Petrodollars for decades have been US dollars received in return for oil exports. The growth in global oil flows over time has increased the economic interdependence of crude exporters and importers and the volume of international capital flows. But the oil trade and related investments have depended crucially on the US dollar as the most widely accepted global currency. The US dollar is likely to be supplanted significantly as the global payments currency of choice in the future. Pricing of oil in US dollars as currency used as a unit of account to price oil in the international market is being challenged and diminished by BRICS alternative currencies. The US dollar as the unit of account to price and settle oil in the international market is diminishing with the emergence of BRICS payment alternatives. And as this transition occurs from USD to BRICS Pay, America will get crushed. BlackRock's tokenization and RWA play is the answer to BRICS Pay's massive global power grab. It's not about 24/7 trading or moving things onto blockchain. It's about a way to fight the massive financial shift that is occurring right in front of our very eyes. And guys, this was supposed to be my outro, but man, a lot has happened. We're starting to see what could be the setup for the squeeze on the US to cripple us in the Middle East and break the petrodollar. Guys, this story is from January 13th, 2020, okay? It's kind of old. This is when President Trump was still in office, I believe. How the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow stretch of water where ships carry $1.2 billion worth of oil every single day, is at the heart of spiraling tensions with Iran, okay? 2020. Now, I want you guys to look here, right? Because do you guys see like anything that looks like kind of, you guys are all right there right now. You guys are all right here. And this is a map of all the boats that go by there every single day. I know when I was there, we'd watch all the boats. I actually stayed on a sailboat out there. This is setting this up, guys. Recent tensions between Iran and US, this is old, threaten the safety of the world's ships and movement in the Strait of Hormuz. The narrow Strait of Hormuz at $1.2 billion per day, okay? You scroll down, it goes and explains a little bit of it. It explains what happened when the Iranian commander was bombed. He bombed 2 Iraqi bases, goes around here talking about this stuff that occurred. 21 million barrels passed by. Donald Trump said that it looked like that little situation was over and we don't have to worry about this anymore back in 2020. Proved to be true at the time. This is what they were doing, okay? While Iran's leaders claim to have concluded their revenge for Soleimani's death, if they were not done, one strategy could include Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz, which would stop oil tanker traffic, disrupt global oil supply, and send prices shooting up. Golly, guys, I tell you what, almost like a setup for a black swan, isn't it? Now, here's the thing. If this is a black swan event, it's already occurred. Because Iran sending those drones to Israel will be looked back as the start of this. Now, I can tell you, no matter what happens, energy prices will go through the roof soon. It doesn't matter if they shut this down or not, but this is something they have in their back pocket. And I want you to remember this, guys. Iran is in BRICS. South Africa, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, UAE. These are all countries that have already have exercisable voting rights in BRICS. Here's countries that have applied for membership. Algeria, Bahrain, Bangladesh, Belarus, Bolivia, Cuba, all around us, guys. They're all around us. Kazakhstan, Kuwait, Palestine, Senegal, Thailand, Venezuela. I want to show you guys something that is very, very, very key here, okay? They lay out what they would do. okay? You keep coming down here, you look at how much money's on the line with these billions of dollars, and then understanding how many trillions of dollars are on the line with our evolution into green and clean energy, okay? You think about that into green and clean energy, and you think about where all that money's going, how much more money's even on the line when energy prices are disrupted. The liquefied Russian gas. So I'm bringing this up because guess what? They cut off all that oil. Hey, now we've got all this natural gas we can help you all out with too, by the way. Remember how you said you weren't taking it? Well, America over there, they might actually have to start taking some of our gas. I don't know if that's even possible. I don't think there's a pipeline that goes that far. But you guys kind of see, I think, what I'm putting down. How important is the Strait to the U.S. and its allies? Remember, we know we are in a war right now with BRICS. We're in a war right now with Iran. We have billion-dollar reasons to protect the Strait. The crude exports, we've already talked about that stuff. Saudi state-backed oil tanker Bahri temporarily suspended its shipments through the Strait after Iran missile strikes that caused a lot of problems. The UK has had to have people escorted there. Later in last June, or it was in 2020, they shot down some stuff. We come on here. Now watch this. Shortly after Iran's drone attack, President Donald Trump questioned U.S. president of the region, calling China, Japan, and other countries to protect their own ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz. Wait, so we're already thinking, okay, we need help with this. Who do we call on? Japan? Okay, Japan, whatever. We called on China to stop Iran from doing this. What do you think China's thinking now? We sitting on this, we can do this right now. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're thinking. Guys, they're in cahoots now. Iran and China are in cahoots now. We asked China for help, and now China and Iran are actual direct allies, not even tied loosely in trade, direct allies through BRICS. Think about that, okay? 76% of oil flowing through the choke point ends up in Asian countries, but U.S. still imports more than 30 million from there. What matters is if there's a shooting war somewhere in the Middle East. I thought this was interesting. Kenneth Vincent, an economist at the Department of Energy, told a 2017 conference cited by The Atlantic, the origin of whatever molecules are consumed in the United States does not matter. He said, what matters is that if there's a shooting war somewhere in the Middle East, those molecules will cost more, and that will harm the American economy. He just told them what to do. He said, hey, you want to damage our economy? Shh, make a shooting war in the Middle East. Huh? I'll be dang, there's a shooting war in the Middle East right now. How likely is Iran to shut down the Strait? This is the final piece here, guys. This is what I've been leading you to. Iran is more likely to disrupt traffic in the Strait of Hormuz than to engage in an all-out conventional war with the U.S., which is a much stronger military. But doing so comes with a high cost to Iran. To close down the entire strait, Iran would have to place at least 1,000 mines of submarines and surface craft along the choke point. Securities researcher Caitlin Talmadge posited in a 2009 MIT study. Such an effort could take weeks. Disrupting oil traffic on the strait would also result in oil importers around the world looking beyond the Middle East for their resources. Wait a second, hold on.
Wait, Asia.
Wait a second, I'm starting to get this. Wait a second, you're saying, hold on. Okay, hold on. There's more. Before we go, there's more. There's more here. Wait, hold on. Let's see. Here it is. Okay, as Michael Knights, a Middle East expert at the Washington Institute think tank, told The Atlantic last May, they'd be cutting their own throat if they close the strait because, man, I tell you, they wouldn't be getting any money for that oil. But wait a second. What happens when we're in an alliance with BRICS and when we cut off the oil, everybody's got to go to Russia and China and we still get the money? And the United States is getting crushed. Guys, it's an alliance. You can't look at these countries independently anymore. They're coming after us. They're coming after our money. They're coming after us for everything that they think that we've done to them for all the years that we've been around. That was urgent update number one. Guys, you won't believe this. Even more has happened since I added that. See what the U.S. is now trying to do to stop Russia and the BRICS nations financially. Guys, this is not hyperbole. We are in the middle of a war right now and no one in our country knows it. This is not a 35-year plan. This is not a China 5-year plan. This is going on right now in front of our eyes. And just since yesterday, when I was on this channel telling you this stuff, it has changed dramatically in 24 hours. How might China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea plot to destroy America? This was written in January. We are now in April. This is happening, and this is happening quickly, guys. Suppose China's Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin, Iran's Ali Khamenei, and North Korea's Kim Jong-un got together to plot the destruction of America. How would they do it? They would start with an invasion of Ukraine. Mr. Putin knows that Biden will immediately send support, and the people that they sell it to will immediately sell it all on the black market, but then will immediately begin to strategically deploy our arsenal of democracy across Ukraine. Then what would occur? Mr. Putin knows that checker player President Biden will immediately support Ukraine. He's playing chess. Biden is in the rocking chair at Cracker Barrel having someone else wipe the drool off of his face while he plays at the outdoor checkers table. Mr. Biden will also slap Russia with stiff sanctions. Now, this occurred. Bring it on. This is going to play right into China's hands. What happened yesterday is on the LME, okay? This is the London Metal Exchange. The US and UK hit them with sanctions yesterday. This just happened. Remember yesterday how I was talking to you guys about Russian energy and all this stuff, how they're squeezing us? Just yesterday, the United States and the UK put sanctions on Russia. Now, United States and United Kingdom take action to reduce Russian revenue from metals. The United States, our government is terrified, okay? Disabling Putin's capacity to wage his illegal war in Ukraine is better achieved when we act alongside our allies. Thanks to Britain's leadership, the United States jointly bans Russian metals, okay? Guys, this is the scam, guys. This is what's happening behind the scenes, and people do not understand our national security and our safety is in danger. I'm not kidding with you guys, okay? But the measures look set to cement China's status as Moscow's buyer last resort, potentially leaving Russian supplies trading at deepening discounts to benchmark LME prices. This article is from Bloomberg. Bloomberg is IMF. They're our side. They're telling you, this is so bad, guys. China is now going to have to buy all of this metal from them. China and Russia are now in BRICS together. They're now allies. China is now just going to be buying all their metal. China is not their last resort. They're the thing that will prop them up no matter what. It's not like, oh, it sucks, we get to sell to China. They're like, of course, buddies, here we go. Guys, they're conglomerating against us right now. This is yesterday. This just happened. U.S. reimposes oil sanctions on Venezuela after broken promises. We're putting all of these sanctions on these countries because it's the only thing we've ever known that worked. It's obvious that it's making them more angry and is working against us, and China's buying all this stuff anyways. Like if Iran cuts off the oil, China's just gonna buy it all anyways. They're all in the same group. This just happened. We just put sanctions on Venezuela. We just put sanctions on metals on Russia. And this is for contracts coming onto the new metal exchange, the largest metal exchange in the world. 90% of metal trains done here. They're saying, Russia, you can't come here anymore. Look at this from January 1st. Maduro hopes Venezuela will join BRICS in 2024. And now the United States says that more sanctions on you. There's other countries that you guys don't even know to care about, like Angola. There's a massive battle for Angola for BRICS. China has given them $50 billion worth of infrastructure to Angola. The United States, we just gave them $2 billion a couple months ago, I think. And the question I was asked was, how long do you think it'll take the United States to really get in the running in that thing? But we also don't have money to throw around, which means money printer's got to come back on probably pretty soon, guys. Our government is in panic mode right now. As for the inevitable oil and gas embargo Mr. Putin would be hit with, remember where they're talking about hitting him with still more sanctions. It's going to drive oil prices up. While Russia may sell less oil, it will enjoy wilder higher prices. Of course, any zeal for Ukraine will fade in the long run, nor is Mr. Putin worried about the flood of American weapons that will come, because the Ukrainians will just sell them all on the black market. We'll sell many of the U.S. supplied weapons on the black market rather than provide them with any Ukrainian cannon fodder. Step 2. Now, this is scary as crap, guys. This was written January, guys. This was written in January. Step 2 of the Box America In plot might involve an Iranian attack on Israel via proxies such as Hamas, Hezbollah, or the Houthis. They just did it themselves. They sent drones. This attack would come at a decent interval after Russia's Ukraine invasion, when the U.S. is starting to feel both financial pressure of funding Ukraine and physical drain. This had already happened, and they're doing it again with Iran. And we know that they were doing this with the Hamas very early on. That's why I was writing about it. It didn't work. It didn't get them what they wanted. They had to do it again. Didn't it seem to not make any sense how this drone attack came out of nowhere?
Absolutely.
Came out of nowhere. Nobody was expecting that. And then what happened to the crypto markets? Plunge. It's a plan. Can't make it up, guys. If you guys are missing the Alpha live, make sure to check out the BitBoy Crypto Morning Show every morning, Monday through Friday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're the only crypto channel who can keep you up to date with this quickly developing situation. Heck, probably the only channel, period. So make sure to subscribe. BitBoy out.